Well, I know I don't look it, but this is the 40th year that I am privileged to be a pastor. I am doubly blessed to be with you tonight, to have my baby girl, Amy, over here, who is very proudly recommending her mama, who is back in Michigan. So, daughter Amy, great to have my sweetheart. She's journeyed a lot over the years through living with a dad who is a pastor. So I suspect she would have her own stories to be able to tell you this evening. Well, Dick gave us some homework prior to coming to be able to answer the question, how and why have I become a part of this movement to help and encourage pastors in the most challenging time for pastors in the history of the American church? I believe that to be so, first of all. And secondly, what is God doing through the John 17:23 groups, in particular where I find myself serving? The first part, how and why. As I mentioned, this is 4 decades for me plus of being in ministry. And I must tell you, if I were to write a book about life in ministry, I would have a chapter in it that would be entitled Ministry Mulligans. You golfers understand what a mulligan is. That is, in informal golf, a do-over. After you have shot one into the water or the weeds or whatever, you just, hey, can I do, come on, this is fun. Can I do a mulligan? And everybody says, yeah, go ahead. So you get to do it over again, and it doesn't, at least the penalty shot doesn't count. There are a number of things that I wish I could do over again in terms of ministry mulligans. First and foremost would be this. I would have viewed pastors in my community as colleagues, not as competitors. And from those pastors, I would have been intentional to have built some safe and encouraging relationships with a few of them, some of which would have been older, wiser, and far more experienced with life than I. I would have done it to have helped me navigate through the storms and the seasons of pastoral ministry. Hindsight's a lot better than foresight, isn't it? I mean, I can look back at that and say, what was I thinking? Why didn't I do that? Unfortunately, in my early years of ministry, I was far too myopic in terms of viewing not only ministry, but viewing life. The thought of building deep-level relationships with men was, first of all, not something I was interested in. From my perspective, I was too busy doing the work of the kingdom. I was a young dad, a husband. My plate was more than full. Plus, reality is I was really far too prideful to do that and to ask for help. I just thought, me and Jesus, we'll figure this out. Most of the time he did. I already knew where we were going and kind of brought me along, stumbling and kicking and screaming. Like us as men, we tend to hold our proverbial cards close to our chest and don't like to let people know where we are. After all, I was a pastor. You're supposed to know how to do this stuff. That would be first and foremost of one of the things I would do. I'm part of this ministry because I believe that I am supposed to be. It is a call of God in my life. I recognize that. As Dick graciously mentioned, we were privileged to relocate back to New England. This is the motherland for me. I had lived here and was born and raised in Western Mass, so New England has been home. In 1990, we went to the Midwest, to Michigan, where we have been. Thought that God was bringing us back to this part of the world, and so I transitioned out of ministry, pastoral ministry, with that in mind. We came here, had a delightful year plus, and during that, God was moving, and I won't go through all the details as to the how and why, but when I sensed we were supposed to be going back to Michigan, I must tell you that was very troubling for me. He brought me to New England. Did I miss the signals? The enemy used that, frankly, though I was having a delightful time here, to create a lot of confusion. I understand now that it was Paul part of his masterful plan for equipping me and allowing me to be exposed in not only my own John 17:23 group up here, but to see what God was doing and to catch the vision so that when he now chose to relocate us, I would understand the why. So I can see that now. That's part of God's plan. At the time, again, why? God, that just doesn't make sense. So I'm in this thing because I believe that I am supposed to be. And I genuinely say that to you. So what is God doing? What is he doing in the groups that I'm privileged to experience in the part of the world where we live in West Michigan? I think it's best to be able to answer that question by sharing some comments from some of the pastors currently involved in the 9 groups that exist now in West Michigan. I emailed them this week early on, prior to coming out, and asked them to answer in 25 words or less. Yeah, I'm asking this of pastors. That was a wise move on my part. I do believe in miracles, and less than a handful fulfilled what I asked. But seriously, I wanted to know what God was doing in their lives, in their John 17:23 group. I thought, it's the proof's in the pudding. I can tell you all of this, but these are some quotes. Best they could do in 25 words or less. The first, Bill, for me, the answer to this is quite simple. My John 17:23 group, or my crying group as my wife affectionately calls it, provides encouragement and accountability. We love enough to say what is right, even when it is hard. For the first time, I have a genuine friend who is also a pastor. Another says, my pastor's group serves to hone and sharpen me spiritually so that I feel more equipped to be the tip of the spear for the kingdom of God instead of the blunt end of the shaft. The Spirit of God truly works in the midst of us and through my brothers, directly into my heart to gird me for battle, or sometimes carry me wounded off the battlefield and tend to my injuries. I would not engage in this war without my fellow soldiers. Not bad for 25 words or less. Another says, I most appreciate that within the group, my struggle with my own particular weakness of the flesh, temptations to sin, have not caused others to pull away in judgment, surprise, or disgust, but I am prayed for and encouraged. From a pastor who is navigating through an extremely difficult season of life and ministry, he simply states, it is my lifeline. Another says, the brothers in the group have been the friends and brothers I have needed in a year that included a divorce and a split in the ministry. God has given exactly what I needed at the time I needed it most. From another, there is just something great about fellowship with other local pastors. It breaks down any feeling of competition, and it's really nice having other pastors who uniquely understand the struggles pastors go through, and they pray for me. Another, this group has allowed me to make friends with Christian brothers who share the same passions and struggles I do. From one who could easily be a stand-up comedian, I love him. He says, first answer, I get to sit in a room with the Bill FIllmore. And if I play my cards right, I can divert the other rubes through some misinformation or forgetting to unlock the doors. Thus, I get him all to myself. He's more than kind, but he really gives the alternate reason or the true reason. It's a scheduled opportunity to laugh, to safely bounce ideas and concerns, to catch God's passion for my city by hearing my brothers' hearts and engage in meaningful prayer. Another, I appreciate the ecumenical strength of our John 17:23 group. We are 6 associates of varying denominations who have become fast friends. This guy I love. He's a Roman Catholic priest. He's a believer. And he is with us. And I'm telling you, all I can say, it has created Timothy, Titus, Barnabas, Paul, and Silas's relationships. I could go on and on and on, but I must say, my friend, that is why I'm part of this movement. It is transforming the lives of pastors. I'm privileged to be a part of it. Thank you.